Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you so much for your willingness to listen and learn as I share with you this presentation today on behalf of the Magical Mind and Attracting Grace. By the end of this presentation, you will better understand what resistance is and how to identify it, as well as what a problem structure is and why it is the very reason why any of us will continue to get more of what we do not want. You will learn how to be in a creative structure instead, which allows you to create more of what you really want in your life. It could be more happiness, more joy, more money, more harmonic relationship, better health, whatever it is that you would like it to be. There is a fundamental truth that you must grasp, and that is you and you alone are the only one creating your reality, including the one you are living right now. So first, I say congratulations for showing up. I am grateful for you and your courage, and this is a great step to creating a better life. A little bit about me. My name is Nicole Reyna, and I am a mindset coach and a facilitator for Attracting Grace. I discovered the law of attraction by accident one day when my husband decided to watch The Secret, and I watched it with him. And since then, my life has been a series of major ups and downs as I was struggled to regain control. I learned that there was so much more to the law of attraction than what The Secret and many other sources say. In fact, I call BS. Yes, BS on The Secret because it is nothing more than a half truth. And the half truth is the same as a lie. As I go through the presentation with you, I ask that you keep an open mind. Get a pen and paper and take some notes because I suspect, like me, you'll be gifted with a whole lot of aha that will hopefully allow you to gain more clarity and shift some areas that may be holding you back. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, to create a happier and more fulfilling life. And without further ado, I present to you what is resistance anyway? Problem structure versus creative structure. So first, I have a question for you. Have you ever gone for what you want, just for things to go good for a little while, and then you decide, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not getting enough, whatever it is you want to tell yourself, you decide to quit. I know I've been there. And even worse, perhaps you don't even try because of all the reasons that you tell yourself. Or this is the worst one, in my opinion. Maybe someone else had told you why you can't do it, and you actually believed it. Has that ever happened to you? I know it's happened to me more than once, and it is absolutely one of the reasons why I didn't even go through my dreams and I decided to do things that other people have told me. And yeah, absolutely, those are some of the reasons that are there, right? So I have a question. What is consciousness? This is something that in science, it's really difficult to explain, it's difficult to measure. However, now there are a lot of improvements in technology, and it's actually experimenting things where people are actually able to measure consciousness, which is really exciting. But what is it anyway? How do you define it? Consciousness is very simple. It's simply awareness. That's it. Just awareness. Whatever you focus on, that aspect of you that's focusing on it is called consciousness. And when you focus on that, you create whatever it is that you focus on. I'm sure you've heard the expression, what you focus on grows. Well, your consciousness is the part of you that's working on it. And consciousness is more than one aspect. It's actually several aspects. We actually like to describe it in three different ways. The first aspect is your subconscious, which is your thinking part of the brain. It is also your ego. This is where it resides. It's the part of you that wants to create a better life. It's the part of you that gets up in the morning and decides to do the things that you want to do, and it makes decisions because, hey, who doesn't want more money? Who doesn't want better relationships? Who doesn't want, all of those nice things? So that's the part of you that's thinking. Now, there is something that you need to be aware of. The subconscious part of your brain makes up only 5%. That's it. 5% of all of the thoughts that are cumulative in your brain. The other 95% of the thoughts are actually labeled in your unconscious, which is the third part of your conscious here that we described. The second part that we describe it is the superconscious, and the superconscious is your infinite intelligence, the higher self, the God within. It's the part of us that we aspire to be. It's the part of us that is basically always with us. And it is a part of us that's actually experiencing. It's here to experience the human experience. It doesn't have any feeling. It doesn't have any opinion. It just is. It's actually here. So, for example, if you're having a bad experience, it's actually happy having a bad experience. Well, it's not really happy because it doesn't have feelings, but it's okay with it. Why? Because it's here to have a human experience. It's observing. It's simply the part of us that observes. Going to the unconscious or the subconscious, as I mentioned before, this is where 95% of your belief, of your thought, everything resides. And it started when you were 0 to 4 years old. That's when your unconscious starts to say, okay, these things happen, you've survived them, so we're going to code it up as to how you're going to be for the rest of your life, believe it or not. And it's a reason why we don't remember anything before we're 3 years old. It's very rare to actually remember anything. The unconscious is based in feelings, and it's an automatic processing center. It's automatic. So whenever you have an experience, it makes a judgment based on that experience. And if it's pain, absolutely want to avoid the pain, but you've survived it. So that's what's very interesting. So unconscious says, okay, that's survivable. So we're going to store that in there, and that's where we're going to make sure that you're always staying in there. We only get to do the things that our unconscious believes is safe for us. And anything new, it's considered unsafe to your unconscious. So what happens? Well, it throws up all sorts of feelings of shame or guilt or frustration or overwhelm and such things of that nature. Here's an example. If someone were to tell you that you are going to go on stage and speak to 1,000 people, and it's going to happen next week, obviously many of us would panic. What do you mean? How can that be? All kinds of fear. What would be the reason? You're going on stage. It can't possibly be anything that bad. But our unconscious says, oh yeah, you could be embarrassed. You could be judged. You might even trip on stage and break a leg. All of those feelings is what the unconscious says, it's unsafe and you can't do it. So that's the part that comes up. So what exactly is resistance? And I'd like for you to take a moment and really consider for yourself what you define as resistance. Some people call resistance as something you don't want to do. Other people define it in different ways. So however you define it, I want you to really just sit there and really think about what is resistance for yourself and how you consider it to be. So resistance is actually, it is what happens when we go for what we want and the unconscious throws a fit. So as I described, when you are on the stage with 1,000 people up there, you might start sweating, you might start getting all of the bodily sensations, fear, so on and so forth. And the reason why is because your unconscious believes that it's unsafe. But this is untrue. It's not that it's not safe, but the unconscious doesn't know any better. It was created, back in way back when the creation was first started. You remember the saber-toothed tiger. So basically, the unconscious was created to keep us safe, so we wouldn't get eaten by the saber-toothed tigers. And as we've evolved, the unconscious still believes that the saber-toothed tiger is around, and we got to make sure that we stay safe. The whole goal is to keep it alive. And it's still a concept now that we're in 2023, right? But it's there. It is what it is. So when the unconscious starts to feel safe, you will feel all of the effect of what the unconscious is showing you. And it shows up in the form of emotion, which it could be anger, shame, guilt, frustration, etc. It could also show up in bodily sensation. I know for me, it shows up in my back. Sometimes that's emotional pain. I might feel it in my chakra location, especially if it's a fear around money. You'll feel it in your root chakra, for example, in the base of your spine, or maybe there's some fear around speaking, and you might have some pain in your throat, so your throat chakra might be affected. All kinds of different ways. However it plays out for you, it's basically an uncomfortable feeling, and it's something that we really want to avoid. That's what our inclination is to do. This is really one of my favorite slides of this presentation because it's really interesting. When you have survived something, your unconscious says, I want more of that. Why? Because you survived it. It labels it as good. We might label it as bad in our subconscious thinking brain, but the reality is the unconscious says, okay, you have survived that. And anything new that you want to do, anything that's different, You're not going to do it. Why? Because it's unsafe. You haven't survived it. You could get killed. So here's some examples. If you have survived scarcity, so if you grew up in a household where the family didn't have a lot of money, your unconscious said you have survived it. Why? How does it know? Well, you're here today. You're watching the presentation, so you have survived it. So if you've survived it, you can never experience abundance. If you try to go for abundance, you could get killed. That's what the unconscious believes. It's absurd, but it's what it believes. How about shame? You survived shame. So if you've been in an experience as a child where you have survived humiliation or shameful experiences, then you can never experience bliss. The only thing that the unconscious will allow you to experience is more and more shame. The same with being unhappy. You can never experience happiness. Cruelty. You can never experience kindness. And this is something for me when I was younger. So I am a profoundly deaf individual at the moment. And I survived a lot of cruelty when I was growing up, bullying, even in my home life and in my school life, and it was in both areas. And I could never understand why it was happening to me because I thought I was the nicest person and I just didn't understand it. But it kept recreating in my experience, even during my adult years when I was in college. And I wish I knew some of this stuff back then that I do now, but that's beside the point. We're going to learn that that's a problem statement a little bit later. But basically, when I have survived cruelty, so then I can never experience kindness from others. Here's another one. You survive being unhealthy. So if you are overweight or if you're unhealthy for any reason and you would like to go to the gym, let's just say, you can never experience being healthy. How many times have you gone to the gym or tried to work out or to try to do some diet or do something healthy just to quit a little bit later? And the reason why is because your unconscious feel that it's unsafe to be that way. And the same thing goes for rigidness and unworthiness and all kinds of other examples. So here's a simple version. Resistance is what happens when we focus on what we don't want, when we focus on the negative aspect of anything versus the positive counterpart. So if we see something that we do not want, it brings up resistance. Because we don't want it, it's a negative aspect, it's not something we want in our experience. So the unconscious grabbed that focus and said, well, you're looking at it, you want more of it. And when you try to change it, that's when you start to feel the emotions and start to feel the energy, so to speak, of what's there. You choose to avoid pain instead of embracing clarity. A lot of the behavior that we've done, for example, if you've had an experience in your earlier life that is unfavorable, in your unconscious, you have survived it. But the thing is, we want to avoid it. We don't want to repeat it. So anytime that we have an opportunity to embrace the clarity, so we'll be revisited again. You'll have what's called a cycle. And when it shows up again, instead of having clarity, we remember the pain and we avoid it. And a lot of that is what the unconscious is saying, you have survived. You've survived avoiding pain, so that's what you're going to do. You're going to keep avoiding pain and you create the pattern. There's another one, choosing to hold on versus letting go. So how many of us have stayed in jobs that are not good for us? So how many of us have stayed in relationships that do not serve us? And the unconscious wants everything to stay the same. So when you try to leave that relationship or leave that job, you're going to have all kinds of reasons why you cannot let it go. If I quit my job, I won't have any money to feed my family. If I quit my job, I'm going to have to go and look for another one. And that's not something I want to do. That's too scary. I'll have to do interviews. I'll have to do all sorts of things. It'll give you all kinds of excuses why you can't let it go. Another one is choosing to accept fear instead of acting on faith. And, faith is one of the things that we all learn about that. We all say, you've heard the expression, take a leap of faith. And taking a leap of faith is scary because the unconscious says it's not safe. So the fear comes up, and what do many of us do? Well, we're more afraid of taking a leap of faith than staying in the fear and being uncomfortable where we are. It's very interesting. Another one is choosing to stay stuck versus taking the leap. So as I said earlier, taking the leap of faith, going ahead and getting that new job, going ahead and saying, you know what, this job is so toxic for me, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to take the leap of faith that this one is better for me for whatever reason. And it, just because you love it or whatever the case may be, but you're taking that leap of faith instead of deciding to stay where you are and staying miserable and complaining and whatever the case may be. Another one is choosing to hold grudges. And a lot of us have had a lot of pain in our lifetimes, especially if you're someone that survived trauma. It's very difficult to let the trauma go sometimes because it hurts and we've taken it personal, I guess. But at the end of the day, the past is the past. The past is over. And it's in our highest and best good to practice forgiveness because forgiveness is what affects us, not necessarily the other person. It doesn't matter if the other person is involved. When you forgive, the past experiences, the person that's benefiting from it is you. However, the pain is so great sometimes that our unconscious wants to hold on to it because we survived it, and we're unable to practice forgiveness because your unconscious gives you all of the reasons why you cannot forgive that experience or that person that caused you the pain. This is one of my favorite quotes from John Maxwell, and it says, "Life is a matter of choices, and every choice you make makes you. You are a sum of all of your choices that you have made, and it got you to this point right here. This is the backbone of how you and you alone are creating everything that happened in your life. Even the trauma, even all of the things that we can't understand, everything was created by us. It was created by us and for us. And so where you are is a culmination of the choices that you have made, whether they're good, whether they're bad, it doesn't matter. There's no judgment. You are where you are, and that's it. You have the power of being a creator, and you've made choices, and they got you to where you are. And the good news is, if you don't like the choices that you've made, you can change them. You can move forward and do things differently. Your current reality is a direct reflection of your current unconscious patterning. What does this mean? This means basically your choices that you have made are based on what your unconscious has allowed you to do. So if you have been comfortable up until now, you're not exactly living the life you want. You're living the life the unconscious wants you to live. You're living the life in a safety net. You're living the life, however, the unconscious field is safe for you to live and is showing up in your reality. If you like your life and if you love your life, congratulations. That means you're doing something that you're very proud of, and the unconscious has been trained to accept it. However, if you still want to do something new, the minute you do something new, your unconscious will throw up a fit. It will do all kinds of things to sabotage you from getting what it is that you want. All right, so this brings us to the next statement. So now that you know what resistance is and how it's really created and what the role the unconscious plays in it, as humans, we live in one of two major orientations. And an orientation is basically a place where you're making decisions. And it's kind of like where you have a foundation where the ideas spring from. And the two of them. So you have the problem structure or a creative structure. And here's an example of a problem structure. You notice something you do not want. So you resist it. You have fear, you have something, whatever your body's telling you, and you realize, I don't want that. So you're recognizing it. Your unconscious starts to feed you ideas because you're focusing on what you don't want. Your unconscious feeds you ideas on how to make it go away or to fix the problem because we're consciously thinking we don't want it and we need a solution. Most of society have taught us that the deal is to focus on solutions. But here's the kicker. The focus on solutions means that the problem has to exist. The problem has to be there. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a solution for it. The solution can only exist if there's a problem. And if there is a problem, of course there's a solution, but then you would have to be focused on the problem to find that solution, right? So in this case, it has to reappear. So when you're focused on the problem and you get a solution to that problem, another one just pops up. So it could be the same, it could be different, it could be whatever it is, but it's still a problem solution kind of a structure. And it has to reappear because it is law. There's two, it's the polarity. So when you get the problem, there's going to be a solution there. And then another problem will pop up because that's what you're looking for. The problem being recreated. So you have a problem and you find the solution. And in that particular action, when you take action, you get the solution and you take action on that solution. You have just told yourself that there needs to be another problem. There has to be another problem where, like I said, it's law. So it's going to reappear in a different way. The solution, in essence, is just an idea for the problem. And because it's an idea for the problem, it has to exist. Now, I'm going to give you some examples so you can understand. An example here is you don't have enough money. And this is a very common one. I don't have enough money. So then the idea that comes to fix it, I need to get a job. And when you go to get a job, you realize, I still don't have enough money. So you work to get a promotion. You get the promotion. You find, I still need more money. So then you work harder and harder. Maybe you decide to get a business because you want to live the entrepreneur dream and you want to have freedom. But then you get into that business and it's the same story. You still don't have enough, not enough sales, not enough whatever. So there's always a problem that surfaces. Another way to look at it with relationships. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be single. So I go out and find a partner. And you go out and find a partner just to break up and find yourself alone again. And then you decide, okay, so I'm going to go look again for another partner. This one wasn't the right partner. So let me just go and find another one. You go and find another one. And you date, and you date. And it still doesn't work out. And then at the end, you find yourself alone and you decide, oh man, it's just not for me. I'm meant to be alone for the rest of my life, whatever. The reason why it's happening is because the problem, it came from you not being alone. That's where the power is. So you have put all of the power inside the problem. You focus on what you don't want, you create the solution, all the power is in that problem. And you created the solution, but that problem still has to exist. This is called an oscillating structure. And as you can see the rubber band here, this is very interesting that I like to point out. So a little exercise. When you stretch the rubber band, so this part right here is your current reality. This is where you identify it as a problem. You go out here to find the solution. The problem is when you find the solution, this over here has to exist. And you find yourself snapping back, right back into the problem. And then you say, okay, I'm going to try again. I'm going to do another thing and another thing and another thing. It's an infinite number of solutions that you can do to try to fix the problem. But then the problem is always going to be there. And you continue to oscillate. Problem, solution, problem, solution. It never goes away. And it's quite exhausting. So this brings us to what you really want to do. You want to be in the creative structure. The creative structure is where you are not focused on the problem. It doesn't mean that the problem's not there. And I want to be clear. The problem is still there. But you're not focused on it. You're not giving it any energy. You're not feeding it with your attention, with your consciousness. You notice that it's there. And you say, okay, it's there. All right, this is what's going on. You created it. So you create everything that happens in your life. So this is a problem that's shown up that has been created by you. And once you make your peace, you start to practice gratitude. You'll be okay with it. To practice gratitude doesn't mean, oh, yay, I have a problem. This is happening. I'm so grateful. That's not what that means. What it means is you are okay with whatever the issue is. So you're okay with being alone. You're okay with being single. You're okay with being in debt. Even if you're not really okay with it, you tell yourself it's all right. I have created it. That's fine. To practice gratitude, you're looking at something else. You shift your attention. What else is going on in your life that you could be grateful for? Instead of looking at the problem, let me look at other areas of my life. Did you have an abundance of friends? I'm grateful for my relationship with so-and-so that helped me through my issues and they listened to me. Do you have a spouse? If you have a spouse, you can say, I'm grateful for this person that's in my life. Or even if you're alone and you decide, I have a house, be grateful for the house that you're in. Whatever it is, be grateful for something that is different than the problem. Then once you get into that space, once you get into the space of gratitude, the feeling, you start to feel good. You basically you forget about where the problem was in the first place. You've made your peace with it. At this moment, you don't have any resistance inside of you. You have made your peace, you're calm. This is when you decide how you want it to be instead. And then you choose it. So I'm alone. I'm okay being alone. I'm in a relationship with myself. I would rather have a relationship with a person. Well, how would you want that relationship to be? Decide on how you want it to be, and then choose it. Once you're in that space of gratitude, there is an affirmation that you can say that can kind of help you move forward with the making your peace. I am truly satisfied with what I have now, and I desire more. I am satisfied with being single. So you've created the experience of being single. Great. I'm satisfied with that experience. I'm done with that experience. Now I desire a loving, committed relationship with a partner. I am satisfied with being in debt. And what this really means is you're not happy about being in debt. You're not happy with the problem, obviously, but you're satisfied. You're done with it. You've had enough. You're aware of the experience. So it has been created. I've experienced it. You've had the human experience of living this reality. I've had enough of it. So I'm good. You make your peace. You're not bringing in any kind of emotion of upsetting, of frustration, of whatever it is. You're moving your energy into a different space. So you're satisfied with where you are now, and you desire loads of money in your bank account. I'm satisfied with my life as it is now. So whatever is going on in your life, find a way to be satisfied. Say, you know what? I'm satisfied with the experience. I'm good. I don't need any more. I'm good. I desire more joy, more happiness, more love. I am truly satisfied with what I have now, and I desire more. This is very different than going from a problem and finding solution. Because you've shifted your attention from focusing on the problem, and you've shifted it now. You have gotten yourself into a neutral place. You practice gratitude to raise your vibration, and then you decide what it is you desire, and you choose it. This is a law of non-resistance that I like to show because this is where the name of the game is. The idea is to get yourself out of the resistance. A lot of times we hang out in the resistance and we make decisions from that place. And that's what gets you in trouble. That's what gets us in trouble. When you're making a decision or doing an action from a place of resistance, you are creating more of what you do not want. The key is to get into a space of non-resistance, which can be done when you are at peace with what's happening. Just find the peace. I am where I am, and it's all right. I'm in debt, and it's okay. Just breathe, whatever the modality is that you like to use to calm yourself. You find that space to be there. And it's very important to remember that every thought has a frequency. The less that you resist on something, the less it will exist. And what does that really mean? Well, it means that when you're not putting your attention on it, when you're not focusing on it, it has to go away eventually because you're not putting your power. It's where your power is. The consciousness and the awareness of where the power is where you're putting the power. So if you're focusing on a problem, that's where you're putting all of the power. You decide, okay, I'm okay with it. I'm shifting my attention now in the center. I am going to be neutral. You find your gratitude on another subject, and then the resistance just goes away. From that space, new ideas will pop in, new suggestions, and you can call them solutions, but I like to use a different word because we're not using the problems right now. So it's important to remember that when you're going for success, the resistance is going to pop up. It's going to. And the more you can make your peace with the process and understand that resistance is just information, it's just letting you know where you need to tweak your attention, where you need to tweak your focus to allow you to create what it is that you really want to create. It's basically why we're here. We're here to sift and sort through all of the contrast that we're living in our life. And it can be challenging, of course, when you have your unconscious throwing up a fit and hijacking your emotions and your thoughts in your mind. But if you can have just that little bit of awareness of, I am focusing on what I don't want. If you can have that awareness that you are focusing in the moment when the resistance comes up. Oh, I'm focusing on what I don't want. Okay, what is it that I don't want? You name it, you put your awareness on it, then you make your peace. And when you've made your peace, that's when you move into a space of non-resistance. It's very important to remember that in order to be a creator, in order to be in the creative structure, you have to be the predominant creator of your life. You have to be the one that's in control, not the ego, not the unconscious. You are the one that's controlling the direction of your emotions, even when they feel like they're uncontrollable. They are controllable. Just take a deep breath in the moment and realize I am focusing on what I don't want. Find that neutral balance, find your peace, and then shift your attention to where you want it to be. When you know what you don't want, now you know what you do want. When you're in that space, that's where you're going to create health and vitality. That's the space that you're going to create growth. That's the space you're going to create all of the wonderful things in your life that you can create. When you are focusing on resistance, you are habitually being the predominant disintegrator. And I love that word disintegrator because that's literally what's happening to your body. When you consistently express anger or frustration or any guilt, shame, any of those lower emotions, you are literally disintegrating your body. You are making yourself sick, literally. And it could go into all kinds of diseases. That's how they get manifested, because a lot of attention is being given on things that you do not want. So I hope that you've enjoyed this presentation. This is something that we give live on our Wednesday meetup. And you can find the Wednesday meetup by going to meetup.com and look for the law of attraction. It's an idea that's incomplete. I put on presentations such as these every week with new topics. It's all expanded on the law of attraction as an idea that's incomplete. And I explain why the secret is BS and how you can do a little bit better and get more clarity and more understanding around what the law of attraction is exactly and how it can benefit you. I hope that you've enjoyed this presentation. Please take note of the website, my email and Instagram and YouTube channel, and you can let me know, reach out to me if you have any suggestions or questions. I would love to answer them. And I really hope to see you in our live Wednesday meetup. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening.